Okay, we have new officers this year. I know in November the meeting was a little slim. I'm not sure everybody was at the Christmas meeting. So I'd like to introduce Doug MacArthur is our new vice president. And Stacy MacArthur is our new secretary. And Kent remains as treasurer. And I would like to thank David and Jim and Jeff Rudy, who's not here, for the great job they did the past 2 years. So we really appreciate that, and hopefully the next 2 years are going to be great too. We'll see. How many presenters do we have for show and tell tonight? I got a couple. Maybe 3, sorry, about 4. Okay, I was just curious. Announcements tonight. We have the suggestion box. If anybody has a suggestion for the club, you can fill out your suggestion, drop it in that box, and we'll read it and see if we can follow through. Dues are due now. A lot of people have been paying tonight, but if you haven't paid your dues, see Kent and pay your dues. And if your email has changed or your ARIES certifications, fill out a new form. You can find one on the back of the newsletter. Okay. And fill out a new form when you pay your dues, and that way we can get you on the mailing list. Be sure you get your newsletters and make sure Harlan has your updated information. And two, as a reminder, if you need a call sign badge, Kent is your man. Kent will make you a call sign badge.
Right.
And the ARIES badges are changing.
They're changing.
So we don't really want to make any ARIES badges right now.
Get the white one, but not the...
We want to wait because that's just around the corner and it'll be coming up soon.
Finalizing that.
The business meeting, Monday night, 6:30, 66 Pizza. The business meeting not only gives you a chance to vote on the issues that are being discussed in the direction of the club, but this is a great chance to sit around and get to know other hands. It's a great place to get advice. If you need help with a project, I'll guarantee you there's somebody there that can help you and be more than happy to help you over dinner. It's really a good time. This is, it's your club, and your business meeting is really important. That's where we discuss everything. We need your input. The February meeting is, as far as we know, is Brian Harrison.
Yes, it's set.
And we need to confirm that. He's the gentleman that presented Amelia Earhart, and it was a great meeting. And he has a meeting on the FCC's intelligence role in World War II, and it is, I'm sure it's going to be a great meeting. March is Skywarn, and I'm not sure what's in April, but we'll figure that out. Terry Brown is dealing with an issue, a battle, a health issue, and he really needs your well wishes, your thoughts, and your prayers. And he can't be here right now. He can't be around people a lot. He can't get sick. He has to watch, where he goes. But he really needs our prayers. If you can lift him up, or give him a good thought, well wishes, or whatever. The Ham Fest we just had on January the 5th, and in spite of in spite of a couple of blips and a curveball that I'm aware of, I think we had a pretty successful Hamfest. We had a full building, we had good weather, we had a lot of positive things in spite of our little issues that came up, but I think the Hamfest was a great success, and everybody that was there, everybody that helped out, I really appreciate it. That was, you know, it's only successful when everybody, you know, chips in and does their part. I learned a lot personally, and the next Hamfest is going to be even better. Steve has some ideas about making some extra revenue, and others have ideas too. And I think we're, you know, the next one is going to be an even bigger success. With the Hamfest, I'm going to ask Kent to give us his financial report and give us too a detailed information about the Hamfest results.
I'll cover the Hamfest first, and then we'll just go over the general information. That from a financial standpoint, it was successful. That we had ticket sales of $780, which translates into about 150 tickets roughly. We had table sales of $100, and then food donations of $50, which gave us a total income of $930. The nice thing about our Hamfest is there's almost no expenses. We give a $150 donation to the church for the use of their fellowship hall, and then we had food expenses for coffee and donuts of $27.30. So the club netted $752.70 for that 5 hours worth of work. So that's a pretty good intake. Plus, another nice thing about especially the January Hamfest is we always have a lot of people pay their dues. So we had 156 people pay their dues that day. We also did get a $40 donation from the sale of an antenna. So that was there also. Just kind of give you an idea that walking in today, our bank balance is $4,992.34. The only major expense right now is still the repeaters that we're waiting on for that, which is probably going to be a couple $1,000s or less. So we're still in good shape, and tonight I've taken in probably about $300 worth of dues or so. So we're sitting in pretty good shape.
Okay, thank you, Kent. Dale, do you want to give the repeater update?
We'll start with the test result. Thank you. Testing update.
Is there a blue box to be in?
You're on it.
We'll have trouble with that. Good evening. Hopefully that's working. We'll give the testing update first. As always, we have a challenge. A couple of years ago, we walked in the room and there were about 15 people there. The VEs couldn't find a seat. That wasn't a problem tonight. We didn't have anybody reserve a candidate slot, but we did have one walk-in. And that one walk-in came for PLM for Mary, upgraded from tech to general. Thomas, I don't think he's here tonight. And again, we want to thank the VEs that were here tonight, including Mike and 4VE. If you just stand up, Mark and others. Mike's going to be a new VE. So quite a few and shake their hand as you go out the door at a Hamfest, because without them we wouldn't have this testing, nor would we have probably upward toward, I don't know what it was last year, probably the last 8 to 10 years, 300 plus new hams in the area, so some of which are in here. So we thank them again. Now for the repeaters, we won't go through a lot of details, but for 4-7, there's still more work that has to be done up there. The weather isn't quite cold enough, but I think it is now, so we'll probably arrange a time that we can go up there. Freeze our hands off and everything. Usually the antennas work the best in the summertime. You could try to trim the SWR, you can never get it down. But in the cold weather, it usually works well. Harold probably knows that as well. So we'll get up there when it gets a little bit colder out, but hopefully before the next club meeting. There are some changes we want to make on that, including filtering and changing some antennas to get a little bit better coverage. Now, the big thing, the two fusion repeaters, the digital repeaters, I have them both in. One of them has been returned after some challenges with FedEx. The other one has to be deinstalled and sent back to Yazoo, so it won't get another credit card charge, which I hope to get to Ken here soon. FedEx hasn't billed me, so I may just print the print screen and send it to you on that.
January the 1st was your cutoff, I'm sorry.
January 1st, 2000.
Thanks for the donation.
That gives me another year. Good luck in getting the digital repeaters. No, they seem to work pretty good. Azu's done a very nice job on the design. They have, as you might expect, since we got them on promotion, put heavy digital changes in. They're actually new redesigns. So I don't know how many of you folks in here have a Yazoo Fusion. Oh, more than I thought. So we have Bob Gap, I know has one. Do you have one too? Yours came in. Well, congratulations. And I don't know how many other folks have that, but you'll be able to hopefully exercise and try some new things on that. I don't have one yet, but you find out when it does get up online that, hey, this doesn't work right or works really good, drop me an email and let me know. Now, as far as getting them up online, here's the key thing I wanted to mention. Well, not so much that'll be before the next club meeting, but those of you that don't have Fusion, we're blessed in being able to have the digital and the analog signals on the same frequency. So what that means, here's the key word, is when somebody's operating digital to digital, those of us that have analog receivers on 146.64 receive, or 444.275 receive, will hear a buzz, a digital buzz. There'll be a long buzz for the length of QSO. You might say, well, I can't deal with that, or I don't want to deal with it. You don't have to. There's something called tone squelch decode or CTCSS decode. Most of your newer rigs after about 1996, 1998 have that already on the rig. So I encourage you to go ahead and dig out the manual, if you can find it, or on the internet, and put tone decode on there for 100 hertz. The repeaters are configured to transmit 100 hertz tone, which means when somebody comes on with the normal analog signal, the low-level 100 hertz tone will transmit, unlock your receiver, the tone decoder, and bring it out of standby. Unless you want to hear the buzz, just leave it out there all the time. But what that'll do is it'll open it up just for our repeater. So, for instance, if there's a band opening in Raleigh or 6.4 comes in, well, 6.4 what, Bear Waller Mountain, I think they're on 88.5 hertz. I'm not sure what the tone is. That won't unlock your receiver. So, nor will you hear the digital unless you have that tone decoder on. So, if any of you have questions or wonder if my rig really has it or not, see me after the session or drop an email. I'll be glad to work with you, get it turned on. Worst case, you could always, like if you don't like hearing somebody on the radio, they say the AM radio station or FM, just turn it off. That's always an option. But the decode does work pretty good. Most of the rigs will have a delay on that of about, it depends on the rig, 80 to about 120 milliseconds. So you may miss the first syllable, but once it unlocks, you'll stay unlocked when the repeater is up. So we could work with some of the delay functions if anybody has a real issue with that, and I can change a delay board within the repeater itself too, so that it'll kind of fake it out and you won't miss anything. So does that make sense? So our CTCSS, tone decode, squelch decode, check your rig and see if you can turn it on for 146.64 and 444.275. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, every Thursday night at 8:30, Harlan has the Aries net. And if you're not on the Aries net, you're missing some professional training that's absolutely free. And we've been going through training for several months with Harlan on the AresNet. And I would encourage you, if you're not participating in that, to just tune in. And it's really great, great stuff to know. And Harlan is going to give us his presentation right now.
That's why you like this time. Yeah, this time I need to remind you. When you learn. Okay. Hopefully the signal goes. Okay. Oxcom Ares. The state of North Carolina no longer uses RACES. Everybody familiar with what RACES was? Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Services. Basically, that came into play when the president issues a War Powers Act and says, okay, we're under national emergency, etc. And FCC seizes the spectrums. Only the RACES stations would be able to transmit. And those were the stations that were registered with emergency management, or what they called civil defense back then. The state of North Carolina no longer uses RACES in any of their terminologies. In fact, the Department of Homeland Security doesn't either. It's now Oxcom, short for Auxiliary Communications. Falls under what's called Emergency Support Function 2, ESF2. That's where we, as amateur radio, fall into place. And we play a critical role because we end up being in just about every communications plan out there that's within every state, every municipality that has one, every county that puts one together. Guess where amateur radio is? Top of the list under ESF2. The state of North Carolina puts amateur radio at the top of the list. They put a lot of responsibility on us. They turn to us for a multitude of reasons. Okay? Who in here is an amateur communicator? You're all professionals. In their view, you are just as good as the person at 911 dispatch center. Why? Because you know how to communicate. You know how to get the message from A to B. And that's the critical point. So yes, they look at you as professional communicators. Do they look at the people with the CV, the GMRS, the FRS that way? No. Why? They don't have any training. We have the training. And I'm not talking about the ICS courses. I'm talking about the people who just took the exam tonight upstairs. You've got training. You're certified in communications. Now, let's talk a little bit from the ARRL side real quick. Ares. They are changing the Ares structure because they're realizing that they have to. Because the current structure, the current way it functions, doesn't necessarily fall within the way the world works right now. It doesn't fall within the incident command system. And that's what we operate under. Oxcom operates fully under the incident command system. And there's a specific methodology in the way that's put together. And we are trying to, and aiming to set up the county that way, and to set up our organization here that way, under an ICS principle. Who in here has gone through and taken the ICS courses, 100, 200, 7, and 800? Okay? In addition to those, now, they're going to start, ARRL is going to start requiring those courses. The state of North Carolina already requires those courses if I use you in an EOC, that's Emergency Operations Center, or a forward command post location. Now, I can use you anywhere else. I can technically put you at a shelter. I can put you watching an intersection, a dam, snowflakes fall. I can put you anywhere else without having those 4 courses right now. Technically, I can do that. But we really want you to have the courses, and they're easy to take. If I need to, you can get all 4 of those online from the FEMA Learning Institute. But if I need to, we did it last year or the year before, we set up and we actually did them on a weekend.
and we did the classes in-house. We do have instructors for that we can put together and make that happen. It's a long weekend. It's 12 hours of training in 2 days, and it becomes very intense. But they do take you through it, and we make sure you pass it. The only thing is, if we do the classroom course, is while you pass it here and you get a state cert in it, to get the federal cert, which is what's required, you've got to go back online to the FEMA section and take the test. The good news is we give you the answers when you take it in-house. So as long as you got your answer sheet, you got the answers to the questions, because it's the same test. But we want you to pass, you got to pass the federal test. Anyway, over to Oxcom, auxiliary communications. That encompasses, if you really look at it, that encompasses every possible supplemental communications. Not only amateur radio, but CB, MERS, GRMS, FRMS. It encompasses all of that. But what they don't want is to have and bring in their EOC in the comm section, they don't want to have a person with each one of those sitting there. They don't want undisciplined radio operators in that communication section. So they're looking to us to have the ability to coordinate those other entities, those other groups. And we can do that. How many people in here hold a GRMS license? Okay. There's several. There's others that aren't here tonight that have them. Okay. You become a relay point. If you can't make it to a specific place, I can turn to you and say, you're at your house. Well, you can communicate on 2 meters or 440, and you can communicate on that GRMS repeater, and there is one up on the mountain. It gives pretty good coverage around here. You know? Guess what? You become a critical relay point. You become part of the team. Even though you don't think you can do anything, you're right at your home, and you're able to function. The same with CB. The same with any of the others. You become that relay, that interconnect point. Those are things that we want to look at setting up, and that we need to this year. There's a lot of training that you can take. You can take as much training or as little training as you want. You don't have to go to the level that I've gone to and that I am, but it's up to you how far you want to go. There's courses out there. We have training next month, the 16th of February, in this room. It'll start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we go to about 4:30 in the afternoon. It's all day on a Saturday. It is an EOC net controller course. This will qualify you as a communications lead for the EOC downtown. You need to have that course along with the ICS courses. And you also need to ultimately get the Web EOC course, which this county conducts. So those courses are required to step into the EOC as a team lead. As long as you got the 4 ICS courses, I can use you as a communicator. Coming up this year again in Charlotte, it'll probably be in the May time frame. I do not have the exact dates yet, because it gets set by DHS. Will be the Oxcom course. It's 3 days. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And it is all day. The good thing is that if we get the funding, which we should this year again, the state will pay for your hotel room. And the only thing you're responsible for is your fuel down and your evening meal. The hotel has breakfast and they provide lunch. So it's not a bad deal. But it is long training. It's 2 long classroom days followed by a long exercise day. And they do try to get you out on Friday before about 3 because they want you to beat the rush coming out of Charlotte. However, if it's like it was when I went, you're not going to beat the rush because there happened to be a tanker overturned right about 240 at the intersection of I-77 and 85, just up from the fire academy. You know, so it blocked all of us in, nobody could leave. So anyway, they try to get you out. That training's there, and there's further training you can go. You are eligible to take just about anything that you want to take through North Carolina terms. That's training, exercise, resource management system, I think is what it is anyway. NC terms, it's online, that's where you register anyway for a lot of courses that you would take locally, like the Web EOC or any of the ICS courses, like 300 and 400. You're eligible to take just about any course you want to take. You can take any course that's in the open online system through FEMA. They've got one, it's an 8-hour course, it's called 1160. It's disaster assessment. Certifies you as a federal disaster assessment person. Meaning you can go out and assess whether a building is destroyed, partially damaged, etc. It gives you that certification in its online course. How many people in here would be interested in search and rescue type operations? Where we would work as communicators on supplementing teams. So what happens, let me give you a real quick view, I'm almost done. I told you I had a little bit we had to cover because we've got to start into the end of the year here, and I've got a lot of stuff I've got to get back. One of the things that happens when a person's lost, child, elderly person, doesn't matter, and they start a search mission, they do have sheriff's department people, fire department people that show up, but who else shows up? 250, 300 volunteers that have no experience and have no communications. So the idea is, if we have folks that are interested in that and we can do that, then we would train you, get you trained in land search operations to be able to be as a communicator, not necessarily a team leader. The idea being, they're going to assign, usually they'll assign a fireman that's been trained. They'll assign that volunteer fireman with a team of volunteers. What they need is a communicator. We function. We become that communicator. You do the search mission with them. More than likely, I'll be back at the command post because I'm one of the people that's certified in search and rescue coordination in all here in the county, so I'll be back there. But what we'll be doing is supplementing. We'll be doing our job and helping out. So if we have that, people who want to do that, again, all we got to do is have numbers and we can get those courses set up. Any questions? So we can let the show and tell guys have at it. Okay, thanks guys. I know I was long tonight.
Thank you, Harlan. This is a good way to give back to the community.
I forgot one thing real quick. 30 seconds. April 6th, I think it is. I believe it's in April, and I think it's April 6th. April 6th, we have a request for a public service event. It's up at Hanging Rock. They want us to do communications up there, and we need about 6 or 7 to 8 people. The problem is that, except for the folks at base, you're going to have to hike in to the locations that you're going to be at. This is a 10-mile hike, so you figure about 5 in, 5 out. They say it's relatively strenuous at some locations. They're going to put us in key locations to provide that communication support. 500 to 600 hikers normally do this event. So it's one we would like to support. So again, I'm going to need people to tell me who's available and what we can do on that. So we can get back with them and tell them, yes, we can support it or no, we can't. We do have one location we might be able to take somebody by ATV into. Other than that, it's hiking.
What is the name of the event? What's the name of the event?
Oh my God, it's long.
Oh, man.
Death Valley 100.
I can't remember the name of it.
Never mind, I'll catch you later on.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but I just got the email, so we were talking about it over the weekend. But anyway, it'll be a neat event. And
Sounds good.
this is a group that we worked with before last year when we did the bike ride up the Pilot Mountain. We supported this organization, or this group, and they gave us a $250 donation. Kind of like to support that again.
Okay. Thank you, Harlan. Okay, who wants to go first for show and tell? Jim?
Start at the low tech end of this. Alrighty,
Now remember, he's gotta be in between the chairs.
between the chairs.
Not tonight.
All right.
He can roam anywhere he wants.
And the last time I built anything other than an antenna was in 1976. So that means tubes, large discrete components, things like that. I decided it was time to try it again. And I came up with the cricket kit from the four-state QRP club down in the Arkansas area. I had a question about this. Well, is that a code practice oscillator? That depends on band conditions. Its intention is to be an 80-meter CW transceiver. Very, very, I mean, this is, you older guys like me, remember when you were a novice, rockbound, and questionable receivers? All right. But they built it, put it together with 43 components and very simple construction so that they could use it with youthful training exercises, and then also just build it if you want, like me, need to be retrained. And it was really retraining because this thing is miniature components, and my eyes are not miniature, so it was soldering iron, third hand, and magnifying glasses. But we got it together. The neat thing, there's a lot of the guys who put some interesting technical aspects into it. There are 4 coils in this thing. None of them are toroids. One of them is in this little encapsulated deal. The other 3 are spirals built in, just made into the circuit. So that makes life a lot simpler. The kit comes with an extended circuit board. So the part of the circuit board becomes the shaft on the hand key. And if you want to use an external keyer, there's another version of this that you clip on here instead and connect to your keyer. Runs on a 9-volt battery, and they claim 1 watt plus out. Although whoever wrote the specs that they send with the kit says 500 milliwatts maybe. But at any rate, it's slick, it works, it's got a built-in side tone, it feeds headphones, antenna, and you've got a self-contained neat little 80-meter transceiver. Now, if I can just get some, well, one thing about that, it is crystal controlled. The crystal that comes with it is for 3579 kilohertz. Yeah, the little color burst, which is nice. Thank you for sending me a crystal. I'm right next door to 3580, which is the digital gathering point on 80 meters. My half a watt doesn't go very far with that. So I bought a couple of other crystals. The one that's in there now is for 3560, which is supposed to be the QRP gathering spot. And from there, well, as they say, your receiver is very sensitive. It is not selective at all. Your ears are your filters. So from 3560, I can hear the W1AW code transmissions up at the other end of the passband. But what the heck, it's fun.
Hey,
Oh,
Jim,
yeah.
you said transceiver, so
Yeah.
that's a transceiver.
Yes, that is transmit and receive, yes.
That is cool.
With a built-in side tone.
That is cool.
And there's one other, somebody else in the room has the kit but hasn't put it together yet. There we go, back here. And if 80 meters, if you don't have an antenna for that, this year they have put out a 30-meter version of it. So
And price?
$33 tax, shipping, and everything. 33 bucks.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I enjoy it.
Very good.
Thank you, Jim. Who wants to go next?
I'm Bruce, 84 ET, and I've got just a
real simple little project here that I robbed off of the internet. And this was a satisfying a problem that we had camping. We've got a small camper and little small table to dine on, and that was my ham station. And on the top of the camper is a Tar Heel antenna and a N4 HER open slot J-pole. And it's on a lift and leg. So you push a button under the seat and all of that goes up. And then there's another button that you push under the seat and it raises a coil on the Tar Heel antenna. Well, all of that works fairly well, except for the fact that my station is the kitchen table in a 25-foot camper. And so you need to eat every once in a while, and I had to get, it was taking all this space up on the table, so you had to get all of that and put it under the table, and then you can eat. And then it's time to do radio again, and so you get it back on the table. Well, what this thing was supposed to do, and like I said, you can go onto the internet and look for PVC portable ham radio station, and you'll see this guy has put together it's PVC pipe. And, all I needed it for was an SWR meter and the radio. What the guy did on the video, oh, and I got a speaker in here, and all my coil of cable with the power poles and all that stuff is back there, and the microphone, of course, is here. But the guy on the video, he had a power supply in there and that kind of stuff. And what I'm looking for was something I could put on the table and use it, and then when I'm finished with it, I take it back out to the truck and leave it in there, and then it's off the table, and it opens up the area very well. So basically, if you look at that video, I think you'll find all the materials and everything, because I did simply just rob it off of his video. I'm using tie plates for the support of the SWR meter, and tie plates for the radio on the bottom, and a lot of screws, number 4 half-inch and some 3/8 inch screws, and paint if you want to paint the thing so that it's not looking so junky. But my wife, November Charlie 4 Mike Tango, did the painting, because I tried my hand at the painting and it did not come out. And anyway, it took about maybe 4 hours to do the measuring and the cutting and the assembly. And you do measure and measure. So 4 hours to put it together. That does not include the painting and the drying time, because a lot of the drying, you sit there for 24 hours to get it dried on the PVC pipe. Let's see what it, oh, and I did use screws to put everything together. It through the elbows and everything like that. The guy on the video used glue, PVC glue, and I see where that can be a pain when you're trying to put this thing together, because I just wanted to be able to disassemble it if I needed to and add more to it and that kind of thing. So I felt like the screws would make it more versatile. So, but let's see, I've got some handouts here if anybody wants to take a look at it, and it's got the names on it to where you can search for Google on the internet for that video.
Very nice.
Makes a nice little go kit.
Oh, yeah, but see, it's got some little rubber feet on here to keep it from sliding. And a cover, it had to have a jacket, because if I put it underneath the table, I didn't want water to...
That's what I was gonna ask. Where'd you get the cover?
I made that.
Made it?
I'm actually a quilter. Let's see, you need to... I came up with some other ideas for it too. Once I made that and it satisfied that solution of being able to put it in the camper and everything,
I said, well, wait a minute, I can also just take this on a picnic and put it out on the picnic table as long as I got a battery, and you can use it just about anywhere as long as you got an antenna, so it's easy to throw together like that. So anyway, you don't have to have a camper just to use the thing, so it works out pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. That was great. Who wants to go next? Jim Register? Okay. Gary?
Last year, for those of you who know me, last year I lived, right here.
Hang on, there's something like
And I gotta
that.
have this. Last year, I lived 10 months in a Class A RV. So Bruce, I'm gonna be making one of those things tomorrow. But anyway, I'm fortunate that the campgrounds that I go to and the one at Tanglewood has Wi-Fi. Unfortunately, a lot of them are not very close to repeaters. Fortunately, the one at Tanglewood is, but most of them are not. And I met a fellow at Tanglewood last year. His name is Jim Wall, KN4NBH. Some of you might know him. You might know him. He lives up in Madison. And he came to me one day. I actually started talking to him, and within 2 months he had gotten his novice license and then went on to general. And then he came to me from his meeting up in Madison and was showing me this little device that he had. It was called a hotspot. And I said, well, what is that thing, Jim? And he said, well, a hotspot basically will take your handheld transceiver, will go into the hotspot, hook onto the Wi-Fi network. Wi-Fi will work as a VoIP and go somewhere else to another hotspot or another router, and somebody else on the other end can hear you. And so I went and bought one, made one, and this is, by the way, this is assembled. It's not really built. It's a Raspberry Pi. The little white board that you see on the top is called a Zoom Spot, Z-U-M-S-P-O-T. It's actually a hat that fits on the Raspberry Pi, just plugs in. It's got a little antenna on top of it. And basically with this little box, of course it's got a, it's fed with a USB power cord and all this kind of stuff. There's software that goes on my computer, my laptop. I can run the whole thing with the laptop, just plug it in and fire this thing up. Software that runs on the laptop called PiStar. And basically, once I get this thing going and get it connected to my Wi-Fi network at home or Wi-Fi network at a campground, or even I can take my my phone and put it in what do you call it? Hotspot. I make it a hotspot. And I can go from hotspot to hotspot and then out over the airways with it. But I can sit there with my FT1D transceiver on a ½ watt, and I can talk all over the world. I don't know how many of you are aware of these things, and I just wanted to do this to make you aware of it. This little thing right here, it's a Raspberry Pi, which is about 35 or 40 bucks off of Amazon.
Is that a B or a B2?
This is a B. They've come out with a B plus now.
There's a 3B plus is the latest.
Yeah, they got a 3B plus now. It's a little bit more powerful.
What is that one?
This is a 3B.
3B. Okay.
You can buy a kit off of Amazon, off of HRO that actually uses the Raspberry Zero. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, this is a Raspberry Pi Zero. We used to use that same thing in a similar group.
Right.
So.
The Pi Zero is about half as big as this. I actually got the kit because I couldn't buy the board, and I just took the board and plugged it into my Pi that I have here. But the board itself will run you about $120. And that's pretty much it.
So
Software is all free.
it's DMR, right?
What?
It's DMR, is that what you're using?
I
What-
can use
what
this.
mode?
I can use this. You go in and you program it,
Right, I know PyStar.
and you program it. I've got it programmed to use Fusion, because that's what my FT1D is. But it's got little crosslinks on here that I can go from Fusion to DMR to, I've actually talked to people down in Alabama on Alabama Link. I've talked to them going through D-Star and all this kind of stuff. It'll do all of the, it'll cross over all of the modes. I was worried at one time when I first started this, you know, what kind of digital machine do I get, you know? Because I want to be sure I get the one that everybody's going to be using. So I went to Fusion. Well, it seems that DMR is pretty popular right now too. But with this, I have no problem. I can talk to somebody that's got a DMR radio. Like, for example, Jim up in Madison has a D-Star radio. I can talk to him with this. I've talked to people down in Alabama that have DMR radios with this. It's just seamless. You don't really notice it. But it's a pretty cool little thing. Is that what you had?
No, we put this together for a Linux users group, so it's a hotspot for web, Wi-Fi, VoIP, etc. It doesn't include the DMR.
It doesn't?
No.
Oh, well, this has DMR, P25, Fusion, D-Star. It's got all, and there's one other one too, and something or other.
The little board on there is the key. It's an MMDV board. That little
Yes.
big
Right.
board.
MMDV.
That is the key to all of those D-Star, DMR, everything.
And of course, that's the RF section, because the Pi, of course, doesn't speak RF without the board.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
But when
Looking at those.
when Jim first told me about it, I said, "Oh, it's using internet. I'm really not interested in it." And then he hooked it up, and I saw it work, and I said, "Whoa, I'm interested in it." You know, I could have gotten with my tech license. I could have had a half a watt handheld radio and really never gone all the way to amateur expert.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Talk
people.
all over the world.
There's a lot of people that are saying that's a negative aspect of DMR.
But anyway, guys, that's what it looks like. You know, if there's enough interest, I'd be glad to do a session one night to show y'all how to do this.
I'd really like to see it,
It's really pretty cool.
how it all works together.
Yeah, by the way, I got my waterfall up.
Oh, you painted that? Oh, excellent, great.
I can't get on the radio without that thing.
I told you.
Okay, thank you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you, very good.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, Mr. Edwards,
All right.
you're up.
Put it down.
Oh, goody. This is dirt. It's a Rube Goldberg. Digging through the storage locker and stuff that came from a mistake. Actually, I love the guy, Don Donadillo. This was in his estate. It was back in the back. We've got 2 storage lockers full of junk. By the way, those of you who've been to my shop, the submarine transmitter left this weekend. It took an entire van to carry already. I saw this in there and go, oh, that's cool. What is that? Well, it took a while to figure it out. I've drug it out today. I didn't get a chance to plug it up. I am going to plug this up and watch the smoke fly. It is amazing what somebody would go through in the 60s or 70s to get on the air. This is a homebrew CB. And it's got crystals in here. It's dirty. It's like whoever did this, I have no idea who did it, but it's part of it is just amazing with the little Miller transformers and everything. And then you look underneath. This is a sweep tube wrapped in adhesive tape. That's probably about 600 volts there. part of it's nuts. I can't wait to plug this thing up.
Get a long extension cord.
And the other side of Winston-Salem power goes
I
out.
just thought it deserved a wider audience. No, here, hold this. But there's some loose ballast resistors floating around up
Hey,
here
y'all,
on
watch
the chassis.
this.
I'm looking for proper 10 circuits. But whoever did this, it really was a lot of effort, and they almost pulled it off. I just wonder if it was.
You know, that was like something we got through the recycling. My plant the other day.
Well, you're good at recycling. Here, hold this and let me plug it in.
Hold this.
Anyway, I just wanted you guys to see that.
Well, you know this one's got here, right?
Yeah, it's got skull and crossbones on it, nice vernier dye. You know, a couple of years ago, I brought a really nice 1930s regenerative receiver. That is, you talk about your direct conversion gizmo over there and how wide it is. A good regenerative receiver is not that hard to build, and you can use FETs instead of tubes today. And it can be super selective, and it's really nice. Scott, WB4 YZA, builds a lot of little ones, and we got a movable camera this time. And you know, I'm not wired, am I? But,
We can hear you.
Well, I'm loud enough without the volume. But he's built a number of those little regenerative receivers, and little transmitters over the years, and he got a report from Wyoming one time. This is the problem with regenerative receivers, if you don't do it right. His receiver was louder than his transmitter. You have to watch how much it's coupling into the other. This thing just amused me so much. I just thought you guys might appreciate seeing it and what all was involved in it.
And once you know what it is.
Once I know what it is, yeah.
I look at this thing.
I thought he just picked it up off the side of the road.
Well, it's obviously been stored since the 60s or 70s, because it's got a lot of, I will tell you, you can take, if you're careful doing this, and get a, more like a water pick, not a big pressure washer, and take it to an old piece of equipment like this, and clean it down with fairly low pressure, and let it dry completely. You can clean, I've done this before with old equipment, and you can clean it up and it looks pretty decent. You get the crap out of it. Anyway, I thought you might enjoy this. So, that's what I
Thank you, Don. Is there anyone else?
I got it.
Okay, come on, Gary.
All right, my turn. Okay, we'll do this. All right, where's our microphone? I'll make this quick here.
In between the chairs.
Okay, these are semi-home brews. I'm going to leave one for last here. First of all, anybody know what that thing is? Oh, sorry. I'm doing exactly what I just told Don to do. Anybody know what that is? It's an Amazon TV Fire Stick. Everybody got one of these. Just a little streaming fire stick. These things get hotter than heck. I mean, they really do. They get really hot. So I modified it. And I put it together with a heat sink on it, and a 4-port USB port, and a wireless mouse so you could work the little keyboard, and an Ethernet connector. And so they are normally wireless, so they stream a little bit slow. But the heat sink really makes a difference. It cools that thing down. So anyway, that's so much for that. This is a little board. Some folks were building the digital interfaces for. You remember, Steve? You guys were building those. These are on eBay. They're in a kit form. They take about 15 minutes to put together, and they are $10. That's shipping and everything, and that includes the push-to-talks, the inputs, everything, input, output, It's just a little, takes about 15 minutes to put together, transformer, isolated, everything. And that's including the taxes, everything. So I thought you might want to look at that. Now this has a story behind it. So, and this is semi-homebrew, and let's see if I can flip it on. But you won't see it do anything. But it's got a little blue LED, and it just sits there. And it's got a little circuit board that's homebrew on the front of it. So now I've got to tell you the story that goes with this. My sister moved in a neighborhood like everybody, and she lives on a corner. And so this is a little side road comes in, and the developer decided in 2007 not to make the road go all the way in. So they didn't build the development behind them. She has a neighbor, or had a neighbor beside of her, and this neighbor was a little bit on the arrogant side. So anyway, he decides to sell his house, and he finds out that his property is 7 feet into that little cul-de-sac, little road there. So both of the driveways come in just like this to the little side road, which ends at the end of their property. So he decides to sell his house. He has it all surveyed, and the problem is that he can't sell that house because it's in the middle of that road. Now the deed says ingress, digress for both houses, no problem. Well, he comes to my neighbor, my sister, her husband, my brother-in-law, and he says, we have to buy this road here from the developer, $20,000. And my brother-in-law says, no, I don't think we need to buy the road because I don't have any, I have ingress, digress, everybody on the deed. So anyway, I come over one day, she's crying, he's beginning to, he buys the road, by the way. He drives some stakes up in her yard, 8 feet up into the yard, because the property's off 8 feet, and he mows it to the ground every single week. And he's cursing her, he's cursing my brother-in-law. He worked for the city, he stops on that side road there, and he's threatening to take the city truck off, haul it off, because he's parking on his property now. So my brother-in-law didn't want to buy the property. So anyway, the long story short is that she's out there crying one day, so I come over and I pull in, and sure enough, he's out the door cursing me. And I said, well, he don't want me parking on his road. So leaves his garage door open, gets in his car, drives off after he curses me. Of course, I give him the universal hand signal for disapproval. And so anyway, I'm looking in his garage over there, and the first thing I notice is a LiftMaster garage door open.
You can smell it coming.
Do you have any idea what this is? I went to the local Sears department and bought one of those, and like a good ham, I took it apart to see what was in it. And so I decided, since you have to flip these little switches here to set the codes to any possibility, that I just built a little circuit that covered all possibilities. So I took it over to try it out. Sat there in the driveway about 10 minutes. Garage door goes up. 10 minutes later, garage door goes down. So I give this to my sister, and I said, turn this on about 3 in the morning. So she does. In about a week of that, he unplugs the garage door, and he has the garage door people over. She calls me up, she says, what are we going to do? I said, just turn it off. Don't turn it on. Wait till about 3 o'clock, turn it back on. So she did. Well, anyway, the long end of the story is how this all came about. And of course, this drove him completely crazy. And you can look at it. It's up here. But the end of the story was that my brother-in-law one day parked the city truck out there, and he come out cursing and calling my sister, you know, you chief SOB, you know the thing. So my brother, since he worked for the city, he calls the city manager. And he says, this guy is threatening me, threatening to take the city truck off. So he says, let me call the city attorney. So I'm going to tell you who this guy is. So anyway, the city attorney calls him and says, if you threaten this fellow anytime, he's a city employee, he has the right to be anywhere he wants. And that's a city truck, and we can park anywhere we want. And if you threaten him again, we will own your house. So that ended that conflict. Eventually, the neighbor moved away and got another house, and that was the end of the story. But you can look at the box. Is he still on the street?
I always love a happy ending.
Well,
That was good, I liked it. Yeah, boy.
I'm not sure, I guess we were still on the air with that one. Maybe they cut you off.
We weren't using amateur frequencies. but we
Yeah,
did.
Anyone else? Okay.
Hey, you got a pencil box too?
First of all, a handful of people in this room know me. I was a member of this club in 1977 when I first got licensed, and now I live over in Pleasant Garden near Greensboro, so I'm a guest here tonight.
Welcome.
Welcome anytime.
So, back when I was in high school in the mid-60s, I remember opening an issue of Popular Science magazine, and there was an article in there that just blew me away. Somebody had actually put a 40-meter ham transceiver in a lunchbox. Couldn't believe anybody could do that. Now, you realize at that time it was vacuum tubes. So, that was something. Roll forward to today. This is old technology now. What you have here is a basic Altoids tin. But in this Altoids tin, a gentleman by the name of Stephen Weber up in New Hampshire designed a radio. He called it the Appalachian Trail Sprint 3, and there's some later iterations of this. This is a totally surface mount, fully synthesized transceiver. It covers 80, 40, 30, and 20 meters. It covers one end of the band to the other. It has CWID. It has built-in memory keyers. And with a software upgrade, it's got dual VFOs in it and memories as well. All in one little box. You see it. I'll pull this out here. I have built 3 of these. I built one for myself, one for a buddy, and then somebody on the internet hoodooed me into building the 2 iterations later with about 4 times as many toroids. I didn't think I'd ever get it built. And it uses these little plug-in band modules. You see how it is, just a couple of toroids and everything, but there it is. So like I said, this is ATS-3, and I think the highlight of having this radio is I hooked it up one day on 40 meters, and from over near Greensboro, I worked Steve Weber while he was on the Appalachian Trail. He was using one of these at the time I worked him, so that was kind of special. I have 2 other quick things here I want to show. Oh, by the way, this radio will do about 3 watts out with a 9-volt battery, or if you put 12 volts on it, it will do 4 or 5 watts out. I found this the other day. I was showing some people at work. I bet nobody in this room probably has ever seen one of these. This came from a QST article a gazillion years ago. This is called a cubic incher. It is a 40-meter transmitter built inside of a cubic inch enclosure. Real high tech. And lastly on my list here, I belong to a group called the Night Lights that centers around, it's a low power ham radio group over near Raleigh-Durham area. And one of the Night Lights projects that they actually produced and sold was something called the Night Smite. Smite actually means surface mount technology. I don't know if y'all will be able to see this or not. The battery in here is bigger than the circuit board. This is a prototype. It was cut on a board mill rather than, it's not an etched circuit board. So it's done on a board mill. And it's had a few modifications. With that 9-volt battery in there, if it's a good battery, it'll do 300 milliwatts. And it does it on 80 meters. And the crystal that we put in there, it's a surface mount crystal, was originally for 3686.4, which was our net frequency. So I've actually got on the net with this thing. We all did, played with these, had a lot of fun with it. And I think the kit sold for a whopping $7. But if you've never done surface mount, it was a challenge. That's what I used to do for years. That's how I built this. This radio here was built under a stereoscope with all the latest stuff like solder paste and everything. This was not done at home with somebody with bad vision. That's about it.
It was great, thanks.
Welcome back, Derek. Good to see you, man.
Anyone else?
Before you guys get going, I'd like to get some pictures for the newsletter for the projects tonight, please.
Okay. Sure.
They're gonna shoot me, but
Do you have a timer?
I do. Give me a timer.
I'm timing them.
This one's super quick.
Time's up.
We're getting people online saying, not again.
Not again.
They're saying that.
I need help.
We know that.
Besides that help, no, I need help. I have one person that's Jim, who in Mansfield was our emergency coordinator for the county for several years. And then he retired from it, became the assistant, and I took over. The thing is that he's got issues that prevent him from necessarily going field operational all the time and limit him. I have a new slot that I've been assigned. I've got a 2-year billet with the state of North Carolina now that started January 1st. That is going to take up more time. And that includes, or excludes the time I have taken up with the county as part of the incident management team. But I do need help. I need an assistant emergency coordinator operations. Somebody that's willing to step up, that's willing to take whatever additional training needs to be taken, that has some spare time, and wants to get involved to be able to do a lot of different things that maybe I can't do, because there might come a time that I'm on the coast or over in Raleigh like I was today, and something happens here. I've got to have somebody that can step into that role. So please, if you think you want to do it or want to try, step up. It's not that hard, but we do need help. That's all I have. That's all. We're going to take long.
Thank you, Hall.
Bacon.
Okay, does anybody have anything else? If not, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you very much. See you Monday.